All right, welcome back to this week's Walk and Talk. And boy, have I got a good one for you today. We're at the beach here on the Isle of Man. Although beach is a strong word, it's stones. Have a look. So it's not the comfiest place to sit down, but it's beautiful and peaceful and there's a lot of wildlife. So we're going to be talking about France today. France is on fire and it's spreading. We've got all sorts of stuff about Macron. We have the WEF. Again, I've got to tell you about what happened with yesterday's video. We've got AI rewriting the Bible. We've got all sorts of crazy stuff today. But let me just get started with telling you some slightly bad news. And that is that I got a warning, I think is the best word. I don't know if it was a strike for yesterday's video, but I got a warning over disinformation, which is absolutely ridiculous because I've worked really hard to get rid of my YouTube strikes, because if you get, I think it's 3, then they delete your channel. So I've worked really hard to get rid of these strikes, and then I got this warning yesterday, which I'm still waiting to find out if it is a strike for yesterday's video, which is an absolute, well, we'll use clean language. It's ridiculous because all I did was post clips of their meeting. That's all I did. Yes, I took the worst possible clips, but that is what I do. I take what they say and I bring out the bad stuff. So it is a bit annoying because that means this video today and my next 2 or 3 will be manually reviewed, because that's what happens. I've been able to get away with a lot of my content because they AI review it, they use AI. So that means today they'll be manually reviewed, and I'm going to be talking more about the WEF and a lot of stuff about riots and everything else. So we'll see. But the chances are you won't see a video from me until next Friday now, because if it is a second warning or strike or whatever, then I'm not allowed to post for a week. Not allowed. Oh gosh, it's so funny. The world we live in now. And I did mention this the other week when we were doing a talk, and I said, I don't think in the future I'll be allowed to just post and talk about this stuff because of all the censorship that just keeps coming through, you know, these platforms. I've been really careful, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. So it might be a good idea for me to just not post anyway for a week, just so that I don't take the risk with it all. So anyway, if you don't see me post until next Friday, you know why. But on another note, I have been thinking about, sorry, I know we're going to get into all the content in a minute, but I have been thinking about bringing on a producer to help me with my channel, but it's not an easy role to actually recruit for. So if you know anyone who is or has got TV production experience that would want to help me a little bit with the channel, because it is hard work. Believe me, I'm like months behind on all my other work at the minute. Please let me know, or just email my office. All right, so with all of that said then, let's get into the first bit of content today. And we've got about a 30-minute window of good weather here before the rain comes, so we'll try and get this through really quickly here. So today's main story then is France is in flames. Rioting and looting spreads across France and now has gone into Belgium.
Paris and much of France remains on edge following 3 nights of violent and destructive protests sparked by the deadly police shooting of a 17-year-old boy during a traffic stop.
Suddenly, street battles are normal in Nanterre. Riot police firing tear gas and protesters hurling rocks and fireworks back at them. And at the heart of this protest, Niall's mother, here holding the flare, the focal point of support. She led a march through Nanterre that attracted thousands from across this community Many knew her son.
I've decided there'll be 40,000 police and gendarmes mobilised this evening and tonight, including 5,000 in Paris, and significant technical and technological means will be provided to fight against these riots, to carry out arrests and to restore the republican order that the French legitimately expect.
Fires burning wildly, destroying property. In the darkness, in parts of France, there is now a sense of lawlessness and anarchy.
So it was pretty serious incident. The police shot and killed a 17-year-old boy, and as a result, the whole of France has just exploded. Now you got to think as well, is it just about what happened? I don't think so. I think there's so much tension in France at the moment, especially Paris, around all the pension reforms. It's just a firework factory ready to explode at the moment. So that's what we're seeing over in France. So I think it was, anything that happened would set this all ablaze, and that's what we're seeing now. But what's made it even worse is the way that Macron has responded to it. So sending in really heavy police. I think 40,000 police have been sent in. But I think the main issue that everyone is really upset about, and why more and more people are coming on the streets, is because rather than Macron helping to deal with the situation, they said there's a lot of really difficult decisions that need to be made, and he wasn't available, and he was at a concert with Elton John. So while they needed him to sign off on certain things, and the whole city is just ablaze, well, he wasn't available to assist with these things. But he did give Elton John the Legion of Honor Award. So there we go. While all of that was going on, he was giving Elton John an award and getting photographs and stuff backstage. So it's unbelievable. It's actually quite crazy the way everything is going on at the moment around Macron, young global leader, and yet he's still in power and still making all of these crazy decisions, policy decisions. It's unbelievable, actually. We're going to walk into the glen here then. This is Groudle Glen here on the Isle of Man. So it should be a little bit more peaceful and quiet. Last time I walked here, I saw a few herons and some cormorants and all sorts of wildlife here, actually. But the other really big controversial story that's happening at the minute, and it's a very frustrating one, actually, is regarding rewriting the Bible. So, as many of you know, my wife and I and our family, we're a Christian family. So when you hear some of the stuff they're talking about here, it's pretty serious stuff. So he actually wants AI to rewrite the Bible and to, do all this other stuff around the Bible. But not just that, he actually wants to rewrite all religions using AI. In fact, I wrote down a few things he said. Yeah, he's just talking, I'm just paraphrasing here, but he's just talking about how the Bible isn't inclusive and it needs to become more inclusive. And, he's talking about inaccuracies and all this other stuff that don't fit modern day viewpoints. This guy is nuts. He's absolutely crazy. This is what I don't like. People who try and rewrite things that have been in existence for a long, long time. He also goes on to make some really ridiculous claims. So he said, our new AI can create new ideas. It can even rewrite a new Bible, which is desperately needed. Throughout history, religions dreamed about having a book written by a superhuman intelligence by a non-human entity. Really? Really? I've never once heard this concept before. Have you? Have you ever heard of anyone saying, we want this, the Bible rewritten by a non-human entity, or any other religion? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Lovely boy. But yeah, this Yuval Harari, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Yuval Harari or something like that. He's just nuts. This guy has gone crazy. I don't even know how to describe him. He's on this massive power trip, that's for sure. He's in all these media and all sorts at the minute. There was just another article about him today, and he said that humans are going to be wiped out. They're going to be made extinct by AI. And then there was another one saying he doesn't think that humans can survive AI, and he only gives us a very short window of time left. you know, it's years, it's not decades. You know, all this sort of stuff. You know, these are the crazy people that are part of the WEF that you're not allowed to criticize, or they strike your videos. But it's not just that, there's all sorts of other things going on. I bet you haven't heard this, and that is about the disbandment, or the reduction, I think they call it, of the English language. And I want to be very clear on why they want to reduce the English language. Let me read it out here. Okay, here we go. The claims are that it reminds people of white supremacy and colonialism. I mean, the stuff that is coming out now is so insane, crazy, and worrying that, I don't know, sometimes it makes me feel like I just need to take a break from it all for months at a time, just go somewhere remote and clear my head of all this madness. Imagine having to read hundreds of these articles every single day like I do, so I can bring you the most sort of, you know, key stories and key points. So which countries are phasing English out? We have the Italian government seeks to penalise the use of English words. Dutch by default. Netherlands seeks curbs on English language university courses. We have some countries putting in penalties, so fines for the use of English. India is aiming to phase out the use of English. Turkey, China, Malaysia and France have all put forward proposals to ban the use of English. Oh, we got a bit of rain coming in here. We've got some good canopy coverage though, so we should be okay. By the way, it took me all week to actually dry out my equipment from last week. I was really worried that my camera wasn't going to work today, but it's been in a bag of rice all week, and as you can see, it's working fine, fingers crossed. I did a test earlier and it worked okay, so there we go. And to those, I think there was 2 or 3 people that said, you know, I need to buy you a coffee or something for doing that walk. Please do. I haven't had that link for what, 18 months? I just took it off there because, you know, people were supporting me by buying my finance and macro course, so I took that link off. And if you remember, the reason I put that on was so that I didn't have to do sponsorships. And then I just kind of forgot to put the link back on. So I'll drop it below today. If you would love to buy me a hot cup of tea on a freezing cold day like this, or a coffee, I'll drop that link below. And if the camera doesn't work, then we'll use that as a slush fund for a new camera. We got a couple more minor stories now then. So we've got the energy boss warns UK households that our energy bills, or your energy bills, will stay high at about £2,000 for the foreseeable future. So he said that the inflation has slowed now, but the prices aren't looking to come back down at any time soon. And that's, well, we all know the reasons why that is. That tree behind must have only come down recently, because it wasn't down the other week when I walked here. I've got some trees to take down this weekend actually on my property. We got quite a few dead ones. They haven't been actually worked on in, gosh, years and years and years. So I'm doing a lot of work on the property at the moment. Gosh, the water here in this stream is so clear and beautiful. Look at this. And it's just so peaceful. I do like to just come and sit by the stream some days and just listen to the water. So lovely, so tranquil and peaceful. But we were just mentioning the energy bills, and we know why those prices went up. Well, linked to that, Germany's about to send 4,000 troops, military troops, on the Lithuania border. So that'll be very interesting because it borders Kaliningrad, I think is how you pronounce it, the Russian territory. So this is interesting. I remember yesterday's video, what they said, that we are going to see more conflict. It's going to become more prevalent in the future. So a few people were asking, well, what can we do to sort of protect against this? Well, I do have a lot of ideas around that, but it would take way too long to explain on this video where we've got all the other news. So I will put that in, because I know most of you are in the private community anyway. So I will put that in. Wow, another tree down. I'll put that in tomorrow's video. That's the monthly macro video, which will be about an hour long. So we'll talk about strategies for protection there, and also money and wealth protection. especially as it's been a few months now since all the banks were collapsing. So let's, review that and review our positions and everything else. So we'll do that on tomorrow's video. So it'll probably come out tomorrow night or Sunday. Okay, we talked about climate change yesterday, didn't we? Oops, I used the keyword. This video will definitely get manually reviewed now then. So you've got to see some of the most ridiculous stories that are coming out at the moment. It is absolutely insane. 5th guardsman, so this is a UK military guardsman, collapses from climate change in 1 month. So I had to look at what the temperature was just to see, well, maybe it was heat or something like that. It wasn't actually that hot. It was 24 degrees Celsius on the day this guy fainted, which is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it's hardly sort of 30 degrees Celsius. It's not as if it's absolutely roasting hot or anything. So this is getting a lot of media attention because a week before, 3 other guardsmen suddenly collapsed during a rehearsal for the King's birthday parade. One was escorted off, the other 2 were carried off on stretchers. Now, bearing in mind, this isn't something new. We've also seen a lot of this happening in other countries. Just France, was it a week or 2 ago, where that guy collapsed as Macron was walking past him. And this just tells you what sort of a person Macron is. You know, if I was the Prime Minister, the first thing I would have done, forget about all the cameras and, shaking hands and all that sort of stuff. I would have stopped and helped that guy and took his helmet off, made sure he was okay. That's what I would have done. I mean, who cares about a photo or whatever else? And you know what he did? He just ignored the guy. The guy's collapsing. He's passing out, he's collapsing. He just ignores him. I mean, this is why I keep talking about the leadership we have at the moment. It's absolutely atrocious. It really is. All they're doing is bringing in all these really bad policies that affect all of us in a negative way and making themselves famous and meeting Elton John and all this other stuff in the meantime. It's terrible. Now, the other nonsense that came out of this was the media were really quick to jump on this because there was a lot of claims coming out that, I wonder if all of these people collapsing is from something else. You know what that something else is. Wonder if it was from something else. So the media really quickly came out to quash that right away. And they said that actually it's quite common for soldiers to faint. Well, let me tell you that I was a soldier for over a decade, and I never, in that entire time, ever saw a single soldier faint on parade. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it does. I've heard of it happening. But a guardsman, a Queen's Guard, or now a King's Guard, that is quite unusual. It's quite rare to happen. So for all of these to happen in the last month, when it hasn't even been super hot, that is quite unusual. So anyway, the media said this is common, it goes right back to the 1950s and all sorts of other things. Well, you do this what I did. You look up, and I tried to go on Google and some other sites just to sort of get a broad range here. You look up actually how many have fainted since the 1950s, and it's not a lot. There's about half a dozen cases or something like that. So 5 in the space of a month. That is not normal. They're just talking absolute nonsense. But anyway, we'll leave it there. This video will probably get a strike already from all the stuff we've talked about, especially the footage and everything else. Goodness me. Right, next thing then. You remember I was talking about how you're going to see a lot of withdrawals from banks and people withdrawing their savings and cash and all that sort of stuff. Well, we've just had the report out from the Bank of England, so I've grabbed it right away. And it says this: customers withdrew record amounts of savings in May, so just last month. There was £4.6 billion more withdrawn than paid into bank and building society accounts. The Bank of England said this is the highest level since records began in 26 years ago, so comparable records of this sort of period. So basically the highest level on record, more than what happened in 2008 in the banking crisis then. So people are they're waking up to what's going on, and they are withdrawing their money from the banks. And talking of the banks then, something else is, wow, I got to show you this, and we'll probably walk back now. This is beautiful. Let me get out of the way. Look at that. It's like a postcard or something, isn't it? I do these walks all the time. They're so stunning. Actually, someone said to me recently, oh yeah, but I'd love to move there, but you'd get bored of it after a while. It would just become normal, all these beautiful sceneries and all the beauty and the low crime and all this other stuff. Actually, interesting fact about the Isle of Man, it is top 3 safest countries to live in the world. It's also number 1 in the world, richest by GDP capita, although it's so small that they don't even measure it. Anyway, no, you'd never get bored of these walks and the beauty and the low crime. Trust me, I will never get bored of this. But talking of crime, banks, let's get back onto the banks. And I think it's HSBC. Yes, it is. HSBC has just dumped their London tower for a smaller office. So this is their 45-story tower in Canary Wharf. They've just dumped it. I don't know exactly what that means. The media just said they've dumped it. Does that mean they've sold it? They've put it on the market? I'm not really too sure, but they've moved into an office, a smaller one, which is next to St. Paul's Cathedral instead. So that's 8,000 people. Just bear this in mind, that they've moved from an office in Canary Wharf and they've moved it to overlooking St. Paul's Cathedral. That is huge, actually. That is absolutely enormous, because you remember what we always talk about, how, especially from an investment point of view, once the high earning income salaries move, you lose the wealth from that area as well. So those businesses in that area, or the landlords, or property investors, whatever else that are in that area, if you're seeing 8,000 leave now, then you might have more banks decide to leave as well, follow suit. So that will pull investment out of that area and therefore income. So just keep an eye on not just the commercial real estate prices, which will drop as a result, and that's office rents and everything else as well. But again, how are they going to refill that building? I really don't see how they're going to do that unless they really drop the price quite heavily. But you also see property prices in that area drop as well, I would have thought, because 8,000 people, many of them will live in that area, in the apartments and things like that there. So keep an eye on that as well. But on a really, let's do a positive note anyway for the video today. Let's do a positive story. Ireland will pay you up to $92,000 to move to the country, but not the mainland. This is some of their idyllic small little islands. I guess they're like the Isle of Man or something like that. And it's absolutely beautiful. Oh, we got some trout in here. Gosh, look how many there are. Oh, I think I scared them all off. Not that they can get far. Hold on, let's see if we can find them here. Oh, there they go. Under the stone, under the rock. Yeah, so there's these 30 little islands. Beautiful, beautiful islands. They are cut off from the mainland though. You've got to bear that in mind at high tide. So during high tide, you're cut off. Does that really bother you though? No, it doesn't. It wouldn't bother me at all. But the only caveat with the money, so they've allocated 2 million euros just for infrastructure. So that's new bridges and all sorts of other things, roads and things like that. So that'll to help people to have a better standard of living there. But there is this huge fund. It's 92,000 per person or per household if you will move there. The only caveat is that you've got to spend that money on renovating the house. So you can't just, take the money, live in the house as it is, and then just leave or whatever. So there's an option for some of you who want to escape the craziness and the madness of this world that we now live in. All right, and then lastly then, the big event. We'll save the big one till last. Last week I talked about how Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are going to have this cage fight. And people, these birds have been following me the whole way. They're these little yellow wagtails. Can you see them? There they are. Wait. There we go. The whole way they've just been following me. I'm not sure why. Yeah, so this cage fight I talked about, Musk and Zuckerberg. I think people thought I was joking. I saw a lot of people like, oh yeah, haha, sort of thing. No, this is actually serious. They are genuinely going to have a cage fight. And although it isn't confirmed, there's a lot of talk about it being at UFC 300. So that's, what's that, May time 2024. I believe. That's the rough date of that. So they've got plenty of time. They've got 11 months to get fighting fit for it. So this is going to be an interesting one. I think it's probably going to be the biggest box office fight in history, as in all time. It's going to be so crazy. I just can't believe it's actually happening, but it's been confirmed by Dana White that it is going to be happening. He spoke to them for an hour on the phone, and they both confirmed that they are going to fight in the octagon in Las Vegas. This is crazy. I actually pulled some stats for you. Okay, here we go. So these are from William Hill, which is a big gambling type of company. All right, so let's read off these stats then. So we've got the Zuck versus Chief Twit. Net worth 100 bill versus Elon 245 bill. Age 39 versus 51. 5'7" versus 6'1.5", 154 versus 180 pounds, Southpaw Orthodox, Jiu-Jitsu, the Walrus. So the odds from the bookies then are 1 in 7 for the Zuck and 4 to 1 for Musk. So that is very interesting odds that they've got at the minute. And honestly, I'm not sure who will win. I think it's very interesting. I will definitely be tuning in to watch that, because it's one of those things that is so crazy that you just can't believe is actually going to happen. But I would put even though everyone's saying Zuckerberg, they think Zuckerberg's going to win, I actually think Musk would win, as long as he trains and loses his belly and, you know, all that sort of stuff. He needs to do a bit of training. So we'll see. I think it's going to be very interesting. So yeah, drop your comment below. Who do you think is going to win? Oh, we've got another bird that's fallen out of his nest here. Poor little fella. But it is that season at the moment. Oh, we got Gandalf here saying goodbye with us. Yeah, so good to see you all. And just a reminder, you may not see me until next week now. I mean, I don't know how it's gonna work. It might even be longer than that. But I am going to take a break in July and August anyway, because I need to finish this course. So maybe I'll just spend a few days next week working on the course and getting it finished. But all right, I think we'll leave it there today. Thanks for being a subscriber. Just a reminder to check out, you know, the stuff we talked about, links below. If you haven't taken my finance course, now would be a good time to take it, especially with the way the markets are going. And then the monthly Patreon video will be out tomorrow. All right, take care. God bless. See you guys soon.